Mickey Russian's Brother, a novel by Martin Starkey. Chapter 5, Barcelona, 1937. The afternoon began to dwindle as the convoy of trucks rumbled up an incline. Then he heard them, the unmistakable sounds of their screaming engines heralding their arrival, Stuka dive bombers. They flew in from the west out of the setting sun, bearing down on the line of vehicles and sighted their guns on them. "Head for the trees, Miguel," Yakov urgently proposed, pointing out an orange grove alongside the road in front of them. Miguel quickly steered the truck across the highway toward the cluster of trees. The others in the group hopped behind him, eager to take cover. "Compañero, remember what I told you about immovable objects?" Mr. Oshensky inquired as Miguel dodged between tree trunks, narrowly missing several in his quest for shelter. "You said it would not be good for the dynamite if I ran into one," Miguel recalled correctly. "Exactly. I should also mention it would not be good for those who were in close proximity to the dynamite either." Most of the convoy had melted into the orange grove by the time the Stukas were in range, but there were a couple of stragglers who got caught by the blistering fusillade of bullets laid down by the fighters. One of the vehicles burst into flames and turned over on its side. The second truck, though shot up, made it to the refuge of the orchard. "Have the men break out their machine guns, Miguel," Yakov Rashensky commanded, as he leaped from his seat and made a dash for the burning truck on the road. "Yakov, where are you going?" Miguel shouted at him. "To see about the driver." "Set up your guns," Miguel ordered the others, then snatched a fire extinguisher from his truck and trailed after Mr. Oshensky. "Does this one carry ammunition, Miguel?" Yakov asked as he mounted the side of the overturned truck and yanked open the door. "No, only guns, Yakov." Miguel upended the heavy extinguisher, and once it was activated, he directed the spray onto the spreading flames. Meanwhile, Yakov Oshensky climbed down into the cab of the truck and grasped the unconscious driver under the arms. He lifted him up toward the open door and carefully pushed him out. Miguel dropped his extinguisher on the ground and rushed over to lend a hand. Together they eased the man clear, then carried him to the side of the roadway and lay him on the grass. "He is breathing, Yakov," Miguel determined, pressing his ear to the driver's chest. Mr. Oshensky was about to lift the injured driver onto his shoulders when the Stukas came around for their second turn at bat. They flattened themselves against the ground while the Nazi planes screeched in for the attack. "Why do they make such appalling noises, Yakov?" Miguel asked. "It's the way their engines are designed," Mr. Oshensky answered. "They also have sirens on their wheels." "Sirens? Just to terrify people?" "Yes." The Stukas flew in, ignoring the burning truck on the highway, and focused on the orange grove that shielded the convoy. They shot a continuing salvo into the trees, and were met with return fire from the machine guns that were laid out between some of the trucks. The truckers dueled with the Stukas back and forth until the fighters completed their pass and streaked away. Using the temporary lull in battle to his advantage, Yakov hoisted the wounded driver across his shoulder and began to carry him to the relative safety of the grove. They were more than halfway to cover when an explosion went off with a shockwave that nearly knocked them down. At first, Yakov Rashensky thought the dive bombers had returned more quickly than expected, but when he turned to look, he saw the disabled truck had blown itself into 1,000 fragments. "No ammunition on the truck, only guns, Miguel?" "1,000 apologies, Yakov," Miguel blushed. The three of them achieved the shelter of the grove, and the Nazi planes made another strike at their position. Sweeping in at treetop level, the lead aircraft opened up on the center of the grove with a long, wicked blast from his guns. Directly behind and just above him came the wingmen, not firing bullets, but dropping bombs instead, incendiaries. They scored no hits on any of the vehicles, but the orange grove caught on fire, threatening the sanctuary of the convoy. "Miguel, pull some of the trucks in line and place machine guns on top of them," Yakov commanded, pointing out the manner in which the vehicles should be situated. "How many guns on top do you want, Yakov?" Miguel asked as the trucks were assembled. "2 gunners on every truck, Miguel. Pronto!" 5 of the trucks were arranged in a row, and 10 machine guns were manned instead atop them. Yakov Rashensky was taking a gamble. By stringing the vehicles together, he had to surrender their cover, creating a more inviting target for the Stukas. On the other hand, he now had a substantial array of firepower to greet the Nazis on their next pass. The fighter planes soared in like vultures about to feed on a corpse, the blood-curdling yowl of their engines, promising death and destruction. "Until I give the signal, let everyone hold their fire," Yakov directed the grove. The flames in the grove began to jump from tree to tree, sending up a thick cloud of smoke directly into the path of the onrushing dive bombers. Their vision obscured by the floating soot, the Stukas fired wildly above the trucks, while Yakov Rashensky waited patiently for the planes to come in reach of his guns. He could not see them, because the smoke concealed their approach, but he could hear them. The air they flew in reverberated with the dreadful whine of their motors. "Now!" Yakov shouted out at the top of his lungs. The veil of smoke lifted, and the Stukas, still firing high, were upon them. The bank of machine guns manned by the truck unleashed a torrential broadside of the attacking planes, and the lead fighter came ablaze. The two Stukas flashed by, the wingmen close above the stricken leader as they climbed at the sky, looking for safe haven. The damaged plane, engulfed by fire, struggled to gain altitude, then suddenly blew apart. And because he flew so near, the fiery wreckage ignited the second dive bomber also, sending him away in flames. A cry of victory went up from the group of drivers. "Guernica!" Miguel yelled, raising his fist in the air. "Guernica!" he yelled again. "Guernica! Guernica! Guernica!" His compañeros took up the chant. "The invulnerable fascist air force does not do so well when you shoot back at them, Yakov," Miguel said disparagingly. "They are more efficient at butchering unarmed civilians and women and children." The orange grove by now was a circle of burning trees, endangering the safety of both men and vehicles. So the convoy hastily regrouped and drove out onto the shoulder of the highway.